Are you trying to establish your brand as a thought leader? Start a podcast, invite industry experts to be guests on your show, and watch your brand become the prime resource for decision makers in your industry. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Umesh Malhotra. He is the Senior Director of Demand Generation at Arena Solutions. Umesh, how are you doing today?
Great.
So I'm really excited to chat with you today. We're going to be talking about how to grow leads and pipeline efficiently. But before we jump into that, Umesh, I'd love for you to tell our listeners a little bit about Arena Solutions and what you and your team are up to over there.
Absolutely. And Arena was actually founded in the year 2000. We actually are the pioneers of cloud product lifecycle management, where we provide innovative companies with a PLM solution that would increase speed of prototyping, reduce scrap, streamline supply chain management. So we actually help manufacturers deliver quality products on time and on budget.
Love it. Love it. So Umesh, as we were talking about this offline, this topic of growing leads and pipeline efficiently, one of the first things you mentioned was that you always want to diversify your budget. So you coming at it, you're the Senior Director of Demand Generation. We're talking about kind of these demand gen activities. Can you talk to us about what you mean by budget diversification? What's that look like in your execution of your marketing strategy?
Yes, of course. So if you have every team gets a marketing budget. Some get a small budget, depending on the size of the company, and some get a large budget. When you have a large budget, it's pretty easy to just pick all the campaigns you want with all the third-party vendors, put a lot of money in the PPC, and still have money remaining for X, Y, and Z efforts. But if you are a small company or an SMB, you don't really have a big size budget. So you got to play with what you get, basically. So at that time, you got to place your bets in the right manner. So what has typically worked is, email campaigns with third-party vendors that are performing pretty good. Appointment setting, depending on the verticals you're going after. Webinars is a great channel, because nobody wants to listen to you for an hour unless they really want to hear about the topic and who the speaker is. So it definitely helps a lot. And there are a lot of different channels like these. So the best thing is to always make sure your budget is spent wisely in different channels that could work for your business.
Got it. And so in that kind of diversification process, Umesh, do you recommend diversifying at first and then figuring out the channels that work best and then going heavier on those channels that convert better? Or do you like to maintain diversification through the long haul, or can I always be testing with new channels?
Yeah, no, I would. I mean, I'm a believer in definitely trying new vendors, new campaigns, and always not to forget the old ones, depending on what the performance is, what is the ROI, have the leads been converting into opportunities and building pipeline. But you always want to have that one or two new vendors every quarter, because there could be a jewel somewhere hidden in there. So it can happen at any time. And of course, while you're working with the current vendor, you want to make sure that whatever is working, it's quite possible that it could get better. Yeah. Or maybe that something that's not working could actually, maybe there's a wrong asset in there, it's a wrong target audience. Maybe that publication is not for your perfect audience. So you want to always fine-tune it, keep a track of it at all times, not just at the end of the campaign, but as you get the lead reports every week or bi-weekly or monthly, you want to make sure that you have your eyes on them all the time.
And so that actually leads us to our next point, which is kind of actively keeping track of all of your campaigns. Are there any systems or processes that you set up to adequately do this, especially if you've diversified your budget across a lot of different channels? What works for you?
So basically, typically we've seen that, there are a lot of marketing automations. I mean, we use Marketo ourselves, there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but we do have an Excel sheet where we have all the campaigns listed, and we also have, all the leads in one column, and then, well, how much are we spending? So we keep a very close eye on what we're spending, how it's working, and what's really going to help us do better and keep us on budget too. We don't want to overspend, so we keep a good track of that. There are a lot of marketing automation tools, obviously, that do that. Just like I said, we use Marketo, of course, but there are a lot of different ways where we just use Salesforce as well, and that's how we monitor our metrics. And we have monthly meetings just to track that data, that what's really working and what's not working. But it just depends on what kind of a budget the company has to go and fetch and get those marketing automation tools implemented.
Got it. So what data are you tracking, Umesh? I would assume it's you're tracking things kind of all the way through the funnel. But what are some of the specific metrics that you guys are looking for?
Yeah, a great question. I mean, the number one thing. I mean, of course, once we I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a campaign which got us, let's say, 100 leads, for the math to be easy. And once we get all the leads in, chances are the first thing we want to qualify is that we are going after the new leads. So that's a very important metric for us, because we do not, once we qualify and make sure that this lead is not in the database and they're not a customer, then we narrow it down to X number of leads. And then once we start our lead nurturing and following up, we want to make sure that we have a lot of touch points. And if we keep a very close track on it, that out of these 4 touch points, this publication or this magazine or this campaign is not performing that well. So we want to make sure that we don't waste our SDR's time as well. There are a lot of different campaigns where more touch points have, but on average, 7 to 9 touch points are always the perfect thing to do. So we do track that data pretty closely as well. And of course, if any lead has been converting into an opportunity, we give that a star, which is to say that we'll come back and invest more, in the renewals and try to get more lead count there, because that is performing better for us. So these are some of the metrics that we definitely track. There are a lot more metrics, but these are some of the most important ones.
Got it. All right, Umesh. So this last thing that we talked about offline was kind of how do you do this when you're with a smaller organization and your budget is smaller? Is it basically just doing the same thing, just scaled down? Are there channels that you would suggest smaller organizations pursuing heavier if they don't have a lot of budget?
Yeah, that's it's always a tricky question there, because sometimes if it's a smaller company and you're working on a very small budget, you don't have a lot of room to play with. So you're basically just going after the top ones that are your usual suspects that will work better. If you're a big company, like I said, you can go all in. But now again, it all depends on also what your verticals you're targeting, what are the job functions. If you're going after high tech, sure, there's so many out there. Even if you go blindly on an email campaign, you will receive a lot of leads, a ton of leads. Yeah. But if you're going after a very niche campaign, very, very narrow, like industrial or DoD for Department of Defense or U.S. Air Force, even A&D, chances are that you may not get the same level of attention that your high-tech or electronics or medical devices, etc., campaigns are getting. So you want to make sure that when you're going after a very niche market, which is really tough to get generated leads, you want to put your best foot forward. So emails are usually the best way to do that, and definitely giving them a thought leadership asset, a white paper, maybe an ebook, that usually helps generate a lot of attraction. But if you do have a decent sized budget, some of the things that are working in our day-to-day marketing activities are always definitely going to work in this one as well.
Wonderful, Umesh. This has been super valuable information. If there's somebody listening and they want to dig deeper on this stuff with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you? And then also, how can they learn more about Arena Solutions?
Yeah, if they want to learn more about Arena Solutions, they can just go to our website at www.arenasolutions.com. If they want to get a hold of me, then they can just reach me on LinkedIn, and it's just linkedin.com, and what are the URLs are /Umesh. My first name is spelled Umesh, and that should pull up my public profile.
Wonderful, Umesh. So this has been wonderful. Really appreciate your time, and so thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you or someone you know would be an incredible guest for the B2B Growth Show, email me at jonathan@sweetfishmedia.com and let us know. We love connecting with B2B executives, and we love sharing their wisdom and perspective with our audience.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.